Asked by Montague with Nail. What's the dumbest thing you've ever seen a technologically challenged person do with a PC or phone? I worked phone tech support for 2 different internet providers. At least once a week we'd get a call from someone complaining they had a no signal message. We'd have to gently explain their monitor was on but their computer was not, and they needed to turn it on. At least once a month we'd try to troubleshoot with someone only to realize the problem was their modem was still in the box. You mean I have to get that out? I took the A+ certification ages ago and one of the main troubleshooting steps was ensuring the computer was plugged in. Sometimes my college students, yes, students who are 20 years old, try send me a link to a video they made by pasting the folder path to the file from their computer. I had a student who was required to turn in an Excel file for an assignment, so she took a photo of her computer screen, with the Excel file on the screen, saved it as a JPG, inserted it into a Google Doc, saved it as a PDF, then turned it in. WTF. Working in a computer lab. A student unplugged our computer to plug in his laptop and then came up and complained that the computer he had just unplugged wasn't working. I've heard similar stories like this where kids or young people today unplugged a desktop, forgetting that it's not a laptop and doesn't have a battery. My great grandpa who's 92 has an iPhone and basically everything about it is challenging for him. He genuinely thinks that Siri is an Apple employee and he's usually being extremely polite with her, but recently she opened the wrong app 3 times in a row and he cussed her out saying that he'll report her to Apple and she gets fired. Note that he can't use an iPhone without resorting to Siri, so he came up to me asking me where can he write a complaint about Siri so that she won't find out that it was him who reported her. Change the voice to man so it seems like she got fired. My dad has a different Facebook account per device. Computer, phone, iPad plus a ton of dormant ones from old devices. My mother is the same. Nothing I could say would convince her otherwise. I asked for the password to one of our old ones that use the family name and now I have that as a backup email for myself on my phone. But somehow even that bit of knowledge doesn't help her understand that she could have done the same thing on her new device, every time. The first email I got from my mother, she wrote the whole thing in the subject line including "I don't know how to get out of the little box" before it hit the character limit. This still happens where I am. Professional emails from big companies that are completely written in the subject field in all caps. The only thing in the actual body is their signature. Lift the mouse up in the air, expecting it to also go up on the screen. Hello, computer. Had a web dev client who wanted to take some hyperlinked words from her web page, transfer them over to her printout, and still have them function like a link. Got livid when I explained that wasn't possible. I do have sympathy for people who've never touched a PC getting frustrated at basic things being taken as assumed knowledge, but this one? I'm trying to figure out exactly what she was expecting to happen. My uncle, late 60s, was sitting in front of his kid's PC. After staring at the screen whilst holding the mouse for several minutes, he said it won't work like it does when his kids use it. Turns out he never noticed his kids moving the mouse. He thought you make a mental connection to the screen by resting your hand on the mouse, then you look where you want the mouse to go. This is why Solitaire and Minesweeper came with Windows 3.1. They teach people who are KB only, and then you could do KB only, about the mouse. My buddy is the most tech-challenged person I know. When he got his first smartphone, years after they became commonplace, he asked his brother how to do some things and his brother said you need apps from the App Store. Where's the App Store? It's those kiosks you see at the mall. Those are the app stores. They'll put the apps on the phone for you. So my buddy went to the mall, went to the first kiosk he saw and asked them to put some apps on the phone for him. His brother couldn't stop laughing on the other end of that subsequent phone call. My local mall in Japan actually has a service counter where they provide app installation services and other basic functions. Lots of old people need help with basic smartphone functions. A friend's PC could not read the ROM needed for his new internet connection. After getting nowhere with the help desk, his ISP eventually sent a field technician round, who removed the ROM from the drive and turned it the right way up. These kind of stories were common back in the day when everyone was getting their first PC. Apparently one of the most frequently asked questions to tech support was, which one is the any key? Some guy at work to check stock lists prints out 30 pages of the lists and then checks them against an Excel. That is something my father would do. He constantly prints Amazon listings from his web browser so he can compare similar items and decide which one he wants to buy. An admin I worked with stored the backup floppy disks on the side of a metal filing cabinet with magnets. The old 5.1/4 ones. I had a friend get a high score on Chopper Command on my Apple II. He wrote his score with the date on a piece of paper and stapled it to the floppy disk. Thanks to his illiteracy, he permanently had the high score since we could no longer load the game due to 2 staple holes through the disk. Back in high school I had a friend complain because her phone screen was all glitchy and multicolored. She said it had been like that since her shower last night. Before that moment I thought it was common knowledge that water and electronics didn't mix well. That was the moment I started noticing that common sense isn't common. I worked at this engineering place and the worst was my coworker. We entered tax codes for all the engineering parts we sold. Our manager sent us a PDF of the new codes and wanted my coworker to send it someone. Instead of just forwarding the email, she did this: printed PDF, scanned PDF, took a picture of the PDF on the screen with her personal phone, sent screenshot to the person. Even for someone doing this level of stupid, this has too many stupid steps. Had to take over a tech support call for a team member because the man on the phone demanded to speak to manager. He was absolutely livid because the computer called him an invalid and he was wheelchair bound. After talking him down, I explained that the error message referred to an invalid input as in it was not a correct input. I mean, fair enough, but just for your information, they're usually not mad keen on wheelchair bound either. My mom seems to forget how to read when looking at any technology developed after the Cold War. How do I save? Click the save button. What button? The one with save written on it. Well, IDK, how us old people are supposed to figure this stuff out. That day, I gave up trying to teach my mom technology. This is really old school. Back when computers used audio cassette tapes to save files, my friend starting shushing everyone in the room. SHHH quiet everyone. No talking, please, don't make any noise. I don't want any errors in my file. Types save and hits enter, then stands there with his finger to his lips until the file is done saving. Plugging a USB mouse into an Ethernet port and calling it because her mouse wasn't working and she had no internet. She really jammed that thing in there. This was a senior VP as well as. I had the same call when I was doing residential on-sites. I fixed the issue in less than a minute, then asked the client if they had anything else since it would be a full hour charge regardless. Ended up helping them upload pictures to Fluttershy or something like that. Not a phone or PC, but years ago I bought my mum an MP3 player and loaded it with audiobooks for her to listen to on holiday. When she got back, she was complaining the latest John Grisham story was awful compared to all the others she'd read. 1 minute someone's alive, then they are dead, then they are alive again, and it's some sort of flashback. It was impossible to know what was going on. She had it set to shuffle. This was in 2002. Had a guy pick up the mouse, put it on the screen and click the mouse against the monitor. I told him to move the mouse pointer around the screen and to click the button on the link he wanted to open. I think a lot of these are actually great exercises in forcing people to think about language in a way you don't have to with people who have some degree of tech literacy. If you've literally never touched a computer before, his reaction is entirely reasonable. Old couple from church made a new Facebook account every time they logged in. I think they had 2 or 3 accounts before the daughter took over. My friend's girlfriend was trying to play a VHS tape and couldn't figure out why she only got static on the screen. She had the VCR on, TV on, tape was playing. I discovered that she didn't have a cord between the VCR and TV. She didn't know it was needed. Well, she might have thought it was okay, as long as they were both on the home Wi-Fi. I had an aunt, by marriage, that thought a human could catch a computer virus. I wonder if someone told her that so she'd stop clicking on random shit and giving her computer viruses LMAO. They accidentally flipped the switch on their power strip and so nothing was turning on. I went over there and flipped the switch the other way and everything turned on. Haha, so we have a power strip that feeds a couple laptops for our kids to use. These laptops are super old and slightly refurbished so the batteries don't work at all. They were having a Roblox party and the toddler came up and turned off the power strip and all the laptops died immediately. Chaos ensued.